Hello, guys. My name's Joseph Teruel. This is my project, Success Reimagined, a personal journey. I'd like to give a special shout out to my advisor, Sophie Godley, who was an incredible support in the creative process, but also in my entire college journey. I thank you for showing me that I belong here. But before I begin, I want to give you guys some food for thought. What did success mean to you at age 10? When was the last time you felt successful? And whose definition of success are you living out today? Let's start off with the definition. What is success? According to the Oxford Dictionary, the achievement of a desired result or outcome is the definition of success. But what is my own? That's a little bit more complicated. I gotta give you some context. So for reference, my parents immigrated from Honduras in 2001 to Chelsea, Massachusetts, a very majority Latinx community, but also home to many other immigrants. And Chelsea is often characterized as a place where there are fighters, hard workers, but also riddled with problems. And I remember recalling growing up, and this is a personal anecdote, my family faced a lot of food insecurity, housing insecurity, because it's hard as an immigrant to look for employment. It's hard as an immigrant to look for somewhere to be. And so the occupation that my father had when he first came here was a painter, and that was part-time. And the occupation that both my parents had were food workers at the TD Garden. And often these were my meals in the evening, chicken and fries left over after a stadium game or a concert. And they really put and hammered this idea into me that what I needed to be successful was the very best in everything, and to eventually achieve this American dream that they strive to achieve as well. But then I had a shift. Entering college, I got new perspectives, and I realized that success is more complex, more human. And I was even more inspired after I read Tuesdays with Morrie, where it really made me see that the importance of life was to have purpose, love, and meaning. And this inspired me to create a podcast, to share a moment and to listen and honor the lives of others, and to gain perspective on what they value and what drives them. And my approach to creating this podcast was to have informal conversations. I didn't want people to feel like they were having an interview. I wanted them to feel like they were having a conversation, like they could be honest, they could be real. So I held them at coffee shops, in homes, and at parks. And I chose people that were really connected to me or deeply involved in my community. And here you'll see who made this happen. First off, my childhood friends, Richard Flores, who's currently finishing up his degree at Harvard, Vanessa, who is a Harvard grad and is now working as a consultant at BCG, and my really great friend Javi, who currently is the CEO, creative design, and thought, and just a great guy for Click LLC. And additionally, my friends here at BU, Casper, Max, and Marek, some of the greatest and smartest guys I've ever met. Two of my mentors, bottom left being Nathaniel Weaver, my high school track coach, and bottom right being Fernando, one of my religious formators at St. Rose, as well as Lisa, who is my councilwoman in Chelsea, and Aaron Jennings, who's the chief of equity and employment, I think, for Chelsea Public Schools. And my family, my mom, my sister, and her wife, Hannah. And our conversations consisted of this. Tell me about yourself. How would you define achievement? Who has had the most significant impact on your approach to success? Do you have any role models? And if you could share anything that you have learned with a younger version of yourself, what advice would you offer? And I thought it was really special to have these conversations, to have this space, because it gave me a lot of food for thought. And I think it was really awesome to have a conversation with my sister, my role model, and ask her who her role model was. And this was her response.
I think now, honestly, one of my biggest role models is my partner. She has such an empathy for people, for situations. She's the funniest person I know, and she carries herself with a lot of love. And I think that is something that I want to mirror. That's something I would like to model. And I think that has helped me in the last 7-8 years that we've been together grow as a person, because there is a lot of love and there is a lot of good out there, and I really wouldn't have seen it if it wasn't for her. Even though I was seeing really inspirational stuff, I think I was seeing the extreme inspirational stuff. I wasn't seeing the smile because the flowers are out, the roses are out, the everyday little things, and I think she's really had an impact on me.
And these are some emerging themes that I saw throughout my conversations. I saw that success was seen as a responsibility to others, as well-being over achievement, as connection, as growth through setbacks, of being proud of how far you've come, and being inspired by those around you. And I can see that through Casper and I's conversation about BURPG launching Icarus in the Mojave Desert, how this was a team effort, that this was something that was built through connection. I can see it through ClickFest, Javi organizing this community event in Chelsea that was a soccer tournament where all these kids showed up. And it was something that I'd never seen in my community. I thought it was awesome that he came out and he created this because he wanted to create this space. And I see it with Lisa spearheading the Chelsea Micro Pantry project, working on food insecurity in Chelsea actively and looking for people to donate and volunteer. And what I learned that listening is an act of care. People often carry stories that they don't always get to tell. I learned that it's always about perspective. Fran said something really profound, which is if you're worried about your future, take a look at your past. And lastly, I learned allow yourself the grace to grow. Lisa's advice to me was bloom where you're planted and plant yourself where you can bloom. And this has modeled my new definition of success. And what success means to me is to bloom where I'm planted, to grow with what I have, to root myself in my community, to honor the soil that raised me, and to leave the ground richer than I found it. And this is one of my favorite murals in Chelsea. And thank you for listening. If you guys want to hear more, by May 1st, my entire podcast series will be up and completed and running on Spotify. And additionally, I want to thank, again, all the people that were a part of this, that gave me their time, that allowed me the space and, to listen to them and to really hear their stories and see how important it is to be present. Thank you.
Sorry. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Liam.
So I'm just curious. I know you mentioned at the beginning your definition of success being defined from your parents. After now going back and having these conversations with family members, have you been able to express this new definition of success, or has that kind of changed your relationship with them in any way?
Yeah, definitely. I think the conversation of success with my sister has always been something that we actively talk about because I think we have a very similar shared experience growing up with the same parents. But I think having this conversation with my mother was actually very eye-opening, not only for her, but for myself, because it really felt like we could share a moment where she said, you know what? I'm really proud of you. You actually are way more successful than I could have ever defined. So yeah.
As a big supporter of Tuesdays with Maury, did you see anything like within the book or any instances that you saw like relatively replicated in some of the stories that you were hearing from your community, or like have that sense of emotion that is shared between the two?
Yeah, for sure. In my conversation with Lisa, Lisa was actually my second grade teacher, and now she's my city councilwoman. But she's lived an extensive life. She worked in international schools. At one point, she was working as a paralegal. She had a stint as a jazz singer. She lived the complete and full. Yeah, no, this one I didn't know any of this. I thought it was crazy. And you can hear my shock in the audio as well. But she was always inspired to come back and to live in Chelsea, to be in the community that nurtured her and give back. And yeah, and be present and be, again, a sense of support for the next generation. So yeah, in that sentiment, to give back, I saw it in Lisa.
Great presentation. Thanks for walking us through, you reimagining success. And I was wondering, along this journey, did you ever reimagine what failure looks like in these different, interviews on that opposing poll?
Yeah, for sure. I think that, honestly, failure for me was anything that wasn't 100, anything that wasn't first place, anything that wasn't recognition. And having these conversations, especially in reference to, with Javi, especially because of his brand and how he's grown, and he's talking about his setbacks. He he talked about his setbacks, but he never once said, I failed. He's like, I learned something. This was a stepping stone. This was just me getting situated into the right direction. So, yeah, I think that really any experience is never a failed experience. So, yeah.
This is beautiful. Why was it important to you to talk to people from Chelsea and also BU, kind of like two homes?
I think you answered the question, because these are my two homes. Because in Chelsea, I think that there's often, for my community and the people in my age demographic, and I remember growing up, we all kind of had this same understanding of what success is, because a lot of people are immigrants. A lot of people instill this ideology that you need to go to school, that you need to be successful, that you can't go to school and study English, political science, sociology. You have to go to school to become an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer. And I think it was important to get this perspective from the people that led me to my new home, as well as the people that have nurtured and helped me grow presently here at BU.
I was wondering why you chose podcasts as your medium versus like written or video interviews.
If I'm being honest, I think I'm a terrible writer. So I would never do a written piece. And I think I really wanted to encapsulate all the emotion, all of the expression, and kind of keep it as authentic as possible. I didn't want to take the spotlight from anybody. I wanted to hear other people's stories. It didn't matter what I thought. I really wanted to hear what others thought. And that's why I thought that having a podcast was the best medium. Yeah.
Anyone else? All right,
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.